This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
But then another one bites the dust. Bam. Erika Barootes looking at me going, are you live? Are you on? Because there's probably no way that you're leading with singing on this very important edition of Real Talk. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, that's right. Another Conservative MP has crossed the floor to Mark Carney's Liberal government, putting the Carney Liberals one seat away from a majority government. We're going to get into this, plus other issues of national importance, provincial political storylines. Of course, this show has sat down one-on-one exclusively with Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith and Alberta's official opposition leader Naheed Nenshi in the episodes leading up to this one. And in this episode, our friends at the Discourse, a fantastic political podcast. The co-hosts of that show, Erika Barootes, Cheryl Oates, will be joining us to get into the top storylines. We're going to jump right in. We have limited time and lots to get to, so I'll let you know that this episode of Real Talk is happening with the presenting sponsorship of RapidX Financial. This is a proud made-in-Alberta solution offering crypto your way through 3 easy channels. They've got more than 100 ATMs across Canada. They have an online portal with Interac e-transfer, plus an over-the-counter desk for those of you who want a little extra help. That would be me. I like talking to human beings with stuff like this, and with RapidX, that's what you get. Real people ready to assist you, no hidden fees, no chatbots. So whether you're starting from scratch with Bitcoin or anything else, or maybe you're growing your Bitcoin journey, RapidX makes it fast, easy, and secure. And right now, first-time users are going to get 50% off with the exclusive coupon code Ryan50, Ryan50, through that online portal at rapidxfinancial.com. Ryan50, this is a limited time offer, your chance to start crypto your way. Visit rapidxfinancial.com and use Ryan50 at checkout.
I heard everyone that crosses the floor gets a holiday gift basket.
You get a trip to Mexico,
you get one,
and you get a trip
one,
to Mexico.
You get one.
It was sort of like this conversation that happened, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. People were talking about Chris d'Entremont, of course, out of Nova Scotia, the former Conservative MP that crossed the floor to Liberals right around budget time. This, as Mark Carney was, of course, working to get the numbers to where he needed to be to survive a confidence vote, to survive that budget vote. And of course, those conversations continued as Matt Jeneroux resigned from the Conservatives. Now, he's still technically an MP, and he'll probably be sticking around till the spring, but his participation in Conservative caucus has essentially halted. And then you've got Elizabeth May, the X Factor, and all of the other storylines. It's why we're grateful today as we analyze this news out of, is it Markham Unionville? Michael Ma, a relatively new Conservative MP, now a Liberal after crossing the floor. Erika Barootes, Cheryl Oates here to talk it all out with us. Erika joining us in our historic Mercer Warehouse studio. Cheryl joining us remotely. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Nice to see you, Cheryl. We're going to work on getting Cheryl's mic up. I want to make sure that I can hear her. But you right off the top, initial impression on this story, one away from a majority, you have to assume that Carney can sense the blood in the water right now. He's going to go find that one more. What's Pierre Poilievre thinking this morning, Erika?
Probably shit. He's going to have to navigate this. But honestly, I mean, I didn't even know who this guy was. Learned that he's going to have, I think, the Chris d'Entremont problem, which is going back into his riding and beating a Liberal by a smallish margin, a little bit more than in Nova Scotia. But I think this guy's going to get a little bit of a Christmas beating, this Michael Ma, because...
You're talking metaphorical.
Yes. Okay. No violence. We don't like violence. But I think he's going to go home and get in a lot of trouble, I would think. But coming back to Carney, I think he's really happy about this. Oddly, Miss May has been around for so long, and I don't think she's got as much action as she has got in the last bit. She is the deciding vote potentially in the spring. I think that it'll still help. I don't think Pierre's in trouble in leadership, to be honest, if that's where you're going to go. But I just don't think this is the thing you want to end session with.
I don't know if that's where I'm going to go, but it's definitely
I'm
one
just
of
answering your
it's one of
question.
the storylines that I'm pursuing here. Cheryl, good morning to you. Your thought? I mean, is Pierre Poilievre's leadership? He's got the leadership review coming up in January, about a month from now. This isn't a good look for the opposition leader.
It's not, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good. It's not a good look, and truthfully, it might not be the end. Like, I think there are a couple other, or could be a couple other MPs waiting in the wings, considering what their next moves are. A whole bunch of people that ran for Poilievre thought they were running to form government, obviously. And then it seems like after Carney came into power, after he introduced a budget, after he demonstrated how he was going to govern, that it made the Liberal Party and being a part of the Liberal Party a lot more palatable for those MPs. And I would think that for people across Canada in some of these ridings that voted Conservative, they feel the same way. And so I don't necessarily agree with Erika that these MPs who decide to cross the floor are going home to a beating. Like this was a riding that was a slim win. And I imagine that there are some people who are feeling like the way that Mark Carney is governing is actually just fine for them. When it comes to Poilievre's leadership, I completely agree with Erika. I do not think his leadership is in jeopardy. Like, there's an Angus Reid poll that just came out that shows, in terms of the people who are definite Conservative supporters, so people who are absolutely going to vote Conservative in the next election, an overwhelming majority like Pierre Poilievre and do not think he should be replaced by leader. And those are the people that are going to turn out to the leadership review. Those are the people that turn out at conventions. And so I think based on those numbers, he is absolutely safe. If you look deeper into the numbers, is he electable as a Prime Minister of Canada? I would say, based on the numbers that I've seen, he is not.
Yeah, and this is something that we discussed in our most recent episode, is that the parties right now, I mean, polls are a snapshot in time. We're talking to you on the 12th of December. So as of right now, the parties are essentially deadlocked in the polls, but you can't say the same for the polling on the leaders, where Carney has about a 15-point lead on Poilievre, and that's something where I guess to a certain degree you can try to tackle Erika, the team around Pierre, but at the same time, personalities, especially strong ones, are hardwired a certain way, and I don't know if anybody's going to, like, what do? Do you soften up Pierre Poilievre, make him more likable? Is that even possible?
I mean, I think a lot of people have probably saw him go to the press gallery Christmas party where you saw him actually be approachable and show up and make fun of himself.
Did a great job.
Yeah, and there was a lot of leaders, actually. Don Davies was another one that was hilarious. But I think that if he can pivot authentically, and that's the issue I think you're talking about, is he can't pull a 180 and all of a sudden become different than he has been in his 20 years in politics. So I do think he does have a funny side. He does have a likable side. He just doesn't really lead with that, or I don't think he did going into the last election. If he can do that because of who Carney is. But I think that for Pierre, there's also a lot of what's Carney going to do and how is he going to deliver still on the tariffs, as well as on this pipeline, right? So I think that there's different plays where you can see the leader or the party still drop. But do we have an election in the near future? I don't know if anyone would want that right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you have a minority government that's unable to recruit MPs and change that landscape, then maybe you do have an early election, right? Maybe a government goes in 12, 18 months in.
Elizabeth May said she won't support them in the spring,
right?
So
I mean,
does that get down
but
to?
now one away. It's like the politics and sports
like
worlds
the
are interacting
dream,
right now.
But the worst also feeling when you're like, I'm right there.
You're
like,
right there.
Yeah,
they're gonna get there.
Like losing
it's one person.
I'm with you, Cheryl. It's just like there's one out of 150.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Feels like it's doable.
Yeah, what do they get? That's a good question.
I've spent the last 45 seconds trying to see if I can come up with a cute segue, and I don't know if I need to do it, but we'll shout out Real Talker Michael Holt in our live chat powered by Park Power, who has broken news to this show.
Saw your eyebrows go up.
Well, my eyebrows shot through the top of my haircut. But the Edmonton Oilers have traded goaltender Stuart Skinner. Brett Kulak.
Saving this. I saw it as you.
Johnny was sleeping till now.
Defenseman Brett Kulak and a 2029 second rounder are headed to Pittsburgh, and that is Tristan Jarry, the former Edmonton Oil Kings WHL goaltender, is on his way back to Edmonton along with forward Sam Poulin in what would be described as a blockbuster trade, and maybe one step. There's political parallels here. This is like Mark Carney needs Carney needs one more piece to taste sweet victory, and everybody's felt like the Edmonton Oilers, all they need is a goaltender.
Yeah.
Johnny, mixed feelings off the hop before we get back to talking politics?
Well, I don't know. I felt like, Stuart Skinner brought them all the way to 2 cups. Like I said, a couple games
Cup
from a cup,
finals,
and then literally a couple goals from a cup the year before. I think he was great. I'll miss him. I'm sure California Closets will miss him. He was in their commercials.
That's right.
But Connor McDavid's not, excuse my language, fucking around. He wants a cup, and I'm sure that a lot of people, maybe they do or maybe they don't, but he's in on a lot of these decisions for sure.
For sure.
He is painting the team with a brush as well. So, and I'm sure he loves Stu. Like, he loves all those guys. Darnell.
Stu's a great dude.
He has a clique of like 5 guys that he rolls with, right? So, but it's just a shame it happened now, because I feel like Stuart was playing for his life. They were on a roll right now. They've had like a bunch of wins in a row. One where they just went to overtime.
He
but
could
still
go
got a
thrive
point.
in Pittsburgh, right?
He
could find new life out there.
How many goalies have we seen?
Like Michael Ma with the Liberals.
How many goalies have we seen get a change of scenery and it just turns their life around?
No kidding, 100%. We're hanging out with Cheryl Oates and Erika Barootes in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. So Pierre Poilievre on his Twitter responding to this is just hours ago, guys, says Michael Ma was elected as a Conservative. He's not wrong. By the constituents of Markham Unionville to fight against liberal inflationary spending, driving up the cost of living in his community. This touches on what Erika said right out of the gates. Today, says Poilievre, he chose to endorse the very policies he was elected to oppose. The same policies driving up food prices, making life more expensive for all.
For
says
listeners,
Poilievre,
that was a Liberal riding. Like, he flipped it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, won by just about 2,000, like relatively tight.
Yeah.
The Liberal candidate had, I think, 47% of the vote. The people he let down, says Poilievre, are the most, let down the most, are the ones who elected him to fight for an affordable future, and he will have to answer to them, which is the point that you made.
And I didn't read that until now, so glad that I'm on message.
Well, there is
Pierre.
kind of there's underhanded praise for you. What do they call it, an underhanded compliment here from Dubious in our live chat, who says Erika probably is one of the less ridiculous conservative commentators out
Bless
there.
them.
So you've won over Dubious.
Someone
She
said
had
I
2
was,
days.
yeah, Cheryl sent me one from our comments. She was like, you need to share this. And it was like after someone had shit on me somewhere else. But it was like, she's like the smartest.
You're the hottest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. The hottest
conservative commentator.
The hottest conservative commentator. There you go.
I was like, all 4 of us.
I have no comment on that. Damn it all in our live chat says, I think that these floor crossing stories say more about the MPs than the Conservative Party. Is that a fair point, Cheryl?
I think it says quite a lot about the Conservative Party. Like, if people inside Pierre Poilievre's party don't feel like he's leading the party in a direction that they thought they were elected under, if they don't think he's doing a good job, I mean, they're not going to cross the floor to the Liberals unless that's the case. If they truly, truly believe in the work of their party and the work of their leader and the convictions of the Federal Conservative Party, they're not going to leave. And so I do think this says a lot about Pierre Poilievre's ability to lead in the direction that the Federal Conservative Party is going in.
Cordetti Motorsports in our live chat powered by Park Power says Pierre's junkyard dog style is not becoming of a national leader. He got his comeuppance. Scheer, Landsman are close runners up on tasteless styles, but says Pierre and company are building a new team. Yeah, I don't know. I look at it. I just think the optics of like one floor crossing might be there could always be personal things to it. Like, what's like the most famous floor crossing in Canadian history? It'd be an interesting conversation to have. Danielle Smith and the Wild Rose to Jim Prentice and the PCs
Yeah, I was
is
like,
the big
ugh.
one,
Yeah.
right? Belinda Stronach back
Yeah.
in the day breaking up with Peter McKay and crossing the floor, like double whammy. I thought was brutal, but like this one, like it feels like, and maybe there will be more. I'm inclined to agree with Cheryl. It feels like there's going to be more. It feels like when they're one away, they're going to get it done. That's Carney showing, I guess, in a way, if he does it, that he can broker deals, big ones and little ones. We'll wait on the big ones with Donald Trump, wait to see. But I just think like that trickle effect kind of does create a narrative that's difficult to dispel. That's like, despite inner workings. I mean, maybe you can talk to us, both of you, about, the war rooms and the inner circles and what's happening with shields up in the offices, like strategy on this. Conservatives got to stop this right now, and Liberals have one more to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think Carney's not going to get a Christmas holiday. He's like him and his caucus, and they're going to be working to maybe secure that last one because, I mean, they didn't get it during session. It happened after the House rose, and so they don't even get maybe the same oxygen in it that they could have or maybe wanted to. But if you came out of the new year with that, that would be big for them. I suspect there's some pretty serious caucus talks happening at the Conservative level to ensure unity, to ensure that this doesn't happen. But I don't know, is there any like NDPs that might cross to make this a real thing, Cheryl?
I don't think so. I mean, it is actually a more natural home for Conservatives to cross to now. Like if you look at what Mark Carney has done and look at the positioning of the Liberal Party, it is a much more natural place for Conservatives to cross to than it is now for the NDP to cross to. In terms of what the NDP ran on, I think joining the Liberals would be a pretty tough sell right now.
Yeah, but also just if you're selfish and concerned about your own political career and your political survival, it's like
ideology.
Well, respectfully, like so with the
Have you met New
Conservatives.
Democrats?
Yeah.
I know, and Cheryl, nobody knows. You know what? Like oftentimes I think I take it for granted when I introduce you to, and I don't run through your whole CVs. We talk about the discourse. We assume people know, but Erika is the founding president of the UCP, former principal secretary to Premier Smith, and of course Cheryl Oates, director of comms for Rachel Notley for years and years, including her tenure as premier. So like these two have seen it on the inside. They understand how it works, which is why you provide, I think, such a great product with your podcast. But like, and I do understand. Like everybody kind of jokes and laughs about the NDP ideology and like tried, tested, and true, and sort of like really stalwart kind of approach to politics. But at the same time, let me just say, like with the Conservatives, maybe like the Oilers with the goaltending situation, you go, gosh, we're just like one piece away. It might be the leader, which is not a small piece, but with the Conservatives, you can kind of almost taste it too. The election results can be interpreted in different ways, and there were some real wins for the Conservatives, just not the big one. With the NDP, like respectfully, it's a disaster, and they're starting like from scratch, and they have fewer than 10 MPs, and like no, like, and even respectfully to who's involved in the leadership race. I like a couple of them personally, but like, I don't know, there's not like a Pete Buttigieg or like a Barack Obama, or do you know what I'm saying? And so I don't know if you're an NDP MP, one of the 7 remaining, and then you're offered a plum spot in government. I mean, gosh, right?
Yeah, I think this is where people really misunderstand the NDP. Like,
okay, fair. She's like, we'll just cut that last bit from the show.
No one, at least in my experience, the vast majority of people who are involved with the NDP and who specifically run for office under the NDP banner are not motivated by power. They are motivated by campaigning for what they feel like is the public good, and in the case of the federal party, being the conscience of Canada. And if that is your underlying motivation, joining the federal Liberals, especially in the current political atmosphere and the sort of like more center and right of center approach that this Liberal government has taken, feels like giving up all of that. It just runs so counter to why most of these people got into politics. So listen, I could be wrong. Politics is volatile. Things, crazy things happen all the time. I just cannot imagine a world right now where the left flank is so wide open and the jump to the Liberals is such a wide gap in ideology that anyone from the NDP would cross the floor.
Can I ask a question to the women of the Discord? Is it enticing? Discourse, sorry. Jeez. Sorry, I'm watching our Discord right now. Hello to our Real Talkers who have access to that because they are members on YouTube.
Nice
Sign
plug.
up now on our homepage.
Everything's a plug.
Is it more enticing now to be like that last person? Like those, if there are a few people sitting on the fence or have been contacted by Carney and the Liberals, is it more enticing now to be that last person to tip the scale?
I'd ask for everything.
Yes.
I mean, I would never do this, so I'm not a 2-minute Tory like our little friend Michael Maw here. But you have a lot of ways.
You could ask for the world.
You want a cabinet position.
Oh yeah, you're like,
But
I want to be
they're
deputy
courting
leader.
one person.
No, I don't
Like
think so either.
I think Mark Carney's playing chess and everyone else is playing checkers. Like if you look at all of the noise leading up to his budget saying like the government will fall, it's the government's job to bring the opposition along. Like while all the opposition parties are making that noise, Mark Carney's quietly courting Conservatives to cross the floor to him. And I imagine there is more than one right now that he is courting to make them a majority government. Obviously, like once you're a majority government, everything changes. And so I think that position to cross the floor, like you're not crossing to a big minority anymore, you would be crossing to a majority government. And that would be more enticing for anyone who's considering it. But also, like based on everything we've seen so far, like Mark Carney is not an impulsive knee jerk, like don't miss the opportunity guy. He's a long game kind of guy. So I just can't imagine that anyone really has that much, like any one individual MP has that much leverage in this deal.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, you're not holding a gun to his head, right?
I mean, I'd still ask for everything if I was going.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
Well, because, like, how
you're
many...
you're gonna be the person. The other Chris, Michael are like just pawns in this. At the end of the day, you are the person that formed a majority government, and so that's a lot of that's a way bigger hit than.
You know what I'm so excited for?
What?
Is like the liberal backbencher that's enticed to cross to the conservatives and throw off all the
I hope
numbers
Pierre's
again.
doing the exact same thing.
Well,
and
why
playing
not?
chess too.
I mean, I love and hate this at the same time. Like, I hate floor
Corey Hogan,
crossing, and I
spin
also
across.
kind of love it. Can you imagine?
I don't think so.
Eleanor, maybe.
Eleanor Olszewski, Edmonton Center. I don't think so. That's your MP, isn't
Yeah,
she?
it is.
Yeah,
She's
she is.
your MP as
Mine
well.
too. She sure is. Yeah, we're hanging out
But
with
I think
Cheryl and
part of
Erika.
the-
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to just add something. Sorry, Ryan.
No, it's fine.
It's a little harder to hear you starting from the Zoom, but I just wanted to add one thing, which I think is playing a factor in all of this and is also going to be Poilievre's long-term problem, is that Canada is at a really critical moment in terms of our negotiations with the United States, in terms of our positioning as, an energy superpower, being economically secure. And one of the leaders in the parliament right now looks like a person who can sit at that table and really make deals and play the long game and be the serious person in the room and carry the title of multiple former governors of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. And one of the person plays political games in the House. And I think a lot of people, including MPs inside the Conservatives, have a tough time imagining Poilievre doing that job. And that will be his problem internally for his own party. And it also is his problem, if you look at the polling publicly, that Canadians do not see him as a serious contender for that position.
Interesting comment along those lines in our live chat, powered by Park Power. Meta Modern says, we can have our quibbles about Mark Carney, but he does seem to be competent, which I'll take over the recent crop of federal leaders, says Meta Modern, calling out Pierre Poilievre, Jagmeet Singh, and Justin Trudeau. Meta Modern wasn't a fan of any of them, it sounds like. Jillian says, I will never forget as a kid. I don't remember this, but obviously it's vivid memory for her. She says, I'll never forget as a kid, Belinda Stronach crossing the floor and the press, and in the press being likened, Jillian's words, not mine, being likened to a hooker going with a new John. Wow. What?
How sexist is that?
Yeah,
that's no guy would ever get called
No.
that.
Can you imagine? Wow.
Well, I can't
We got to go
imagine.
back
I'm like
and
trying to
find
think
that.
what we could say about Michael that would even be level, and it's not. I can't.
Well, that wouldn't get you canned from all your work.
Yeah,
you know
no,
what I
I'm
mean?
like-
it's wow. I believe Jillian. Reboot Alberta says the floor crossings are mostly personal reactions to party leadership style and direction. Let us know what you think. Talk at RyanJesperson.com. Cheryl, I've already asked Erika for her permission to go a little long. Do you have a heart out? Can we keep you for a half an hour?
We don't have a
today?
heart out.
Oh,
I
you guys,
know this is
love you
always gonna
guys,
go long.
but we never intend for it to go long. It's just we have such wonderful conversations.
Yeah, and
It's
we
a
can
good
anticipate
thing.
that.
You know, they're the hosts of The Discourse. If you don't already subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find them on YouTube as well. Make sure you do. It's Cheryl Oates, Erika Barootes hanging out with us in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. I wonder who California Closets will tap on the shoulder for their next Edmonton Oilers
Hey, maybe
commercial.
it'll be Yari. You never know.
Yeah, maybe Yari. Yeah.
Jari here.
Oh, Tristan Jari.
Tristan,
Yeah,
what-
why not?
yeah.
Hey, what you need to do is you need to find an oiler. It's got to be like Leon or Connor, one with a lot of hardware. Because then they can say, when I'm looking for a place to store my Hart trophies, when I'm looking for a place to display my Art Ross trophies, I go to California Closets of Canada. With our family, not so much NHL hardware, but we got a lot of stuff. And it has to be accessible and it has to be convenient. But it's got to look good, too, in storage. And California Closets struck that perfect balance for us. We also didn't have millions of dollars to spend. And that's what I love about this Canadian-owned company. They can work with any space and any budget. You can check out the details on that, the different levels of design at californiaclosets.ca. Also where you can request your free consultation today. Again, californiaclosets.ca. Hey, just because we are in the dead of winter, though my son reminded me, not technically yet, Dad, not technically yet. It is freezing out there, and I know a lot of you, when you're thinking of solar, you're going to be figuring that those solar panels are just shut right down until the sun shines in June again. You know, advancements made in solar have totally changed the game on battery storage and even on panel performance. In fact, a lot of panels installed by the team at Solar by Kuby actually perform better in cold weather. They've got a really neat blog post about this on their website, kuby.ca. That's Kuby.ca. It's also where you can connect with them, learn more about some of the government subsidies available. If you're going green this spring, why not get the ball rolling, get your engineering work done so they can start installing as soon as the snow melts. Nobody does it cleaner than the team at Kuby. Johnny's showing you the beautiful installation that they did at the Winifred Stewart Society, a nonprofit. That was a contest won by the team at Winifred Stewart right here on Real Talk. Hard to imagine. Gosh, that was like 4 years ago. Can you believe it, guys? Unreal stuff. We're so proud to have partnered with Kuby through the duration of that time, and we recommend them wholeheartedly. If you're looking to spend this holiday season with family and friends, in other words, fellowshipping, having some laughs, meaningful interactions as opposed to just working in the kitchen while everybody else hangs out, why not trust it to the team at Friesen Brothers? They've got so many different options, including their classic Christmas dinner box. Everything we recommend at cateringbyfriesen.com, F-R-E-S-O-N. Cateringbyfriesen.com is chef prepared, and that includes a Christmas dinner box that'll feed 4 people for just $99. Come on. You're going to spend more if you're trying to prepare a turkey, and you're going to have to do all the work yourself. Leave it up to Friesen Brothers. You can order from now all the way through till January 7th. Good news for our Ukrainian friends. It includes roasted turkey, roasted baby potatoes, sour cream, bacon bits, green onions, creamy dill carrots, house recommendation, mother dough bread, tray buns, cranberry sauce, turkey gravy. You are covered. Again, cateringbyfriesen.com. And a reminder, every Thursday here on the show, we present stories of Albertans winning on the national or international stage. Alberta Wins is proudly presented by Play Alberta, with casino winners every hour, jackpots worth millions, in revenue, I love this, that stays in the province. There's never been a better time to sign up via the Play Alberta app or at playalberta.ca. And right now, Real Talkers can score a $50 casino bonus when you make a minimum $50 deposit with the code Ryan50, Ryan50 for a $50 casino bonus. You must be 18 or over to play, and if you do gamble, please use your game sense. Johnny, can we tee up the short from Naheed Nenshi on the show in our most recent episode? This is the
Erika's favorite.
The 11th of the 11th
Put myself through this.
December. Erika, I know you've already listened to the interview 3 times with Alberta's opposition leader, the leader of Alberta's NDP. Cheryl, I'm not sure if you heard it yet, but it absolutely.
I listened to it. Yeah,
it was a bold claim. Nenshi came in here like he was on the campaign trail and right out of the gates. I mean, in his own words, check this out.
If an election was held today, I'll just tell you we'd win an election today. And they know this, right? They're quite nervous. And the question is, do they think they can recover enough in a campaign now, or are things only going to get worse? And listen, I'm not their war room. They can decide that for themselves. We're ready. We were trying to figure out, what's the Premier's strategy? Why is everything changing on a dime? And what we figured out is that her Chief of Staff, Rob Anderson, has no strategy. They're making it up as they go along. So they were ready to call a snap election last fall. And we've heard lots of rumors that conservative political strategists across the country are being hired to work on a campaign this coming spring. She's also said that the Alberta Next panel, remember that? They don't like to talk about it so much anymore, was supposed to go to referenda in the spring on things like an Alberta pension plan. All these recalls, remember, they have the narrowest majority in Alberta history. If any of them are successful, even one, that will completely destabilize her government. Albertans are mad, right? And they're organized. She's really floundering in the polls right now. So I know that the strategists over there are going, things are only going to get worse for us. The RCMP is going to report on corrupt care. The AG is going to report on corrupt care. Should we just go now? They might even be thinking, we've really backed ourselves into a corner with all this separatist talk. To be clear, a separatist referendum is a bad thing.
So that's Naheed Nenshi. Cheryl, he says they've got the internal polling that says they would win an election today. Take us into it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I probably won't be quite as forceful on that as Naheed was. I do think that Danielle Smith has suffered her first real blow and probably sustained blow since she became premier in the last few months. You've seen both publicly available data and I've seen some private data showing the UCP has finally taken quite a big hit as some of the stuff that they've done that is deeply unpopular publicly has sort of added up into a place that I think will be tough to recover from. And I mean, those, like, as we know, it doesn't just come down to percentages in Alberta. It comes down to where you can win seats. And if the NDP can win more seats in Calgary, if the NDP can hold all the seats in Edmonton and then win back some of those seats in the smaller settings, that is the NDP forming government. And I think that's what Naheed is alluding to, is that in the centers that matter, in the seats that matter, the NDP is doing just as well as it did in the last election, and in many cases doing better than it was in the last election. And people are really, really frustrated with many things that the government has done in this last year.
He says that
I'm just waiting for Pete Guthrie to also come out and make ridiculous claims like Naheed did.
Well, we'll get to Peter Guthrie, now the leader of the Alberta Party all of a sudden, and we'll get to that. But, I mean, a couple of big ones. Number one, he says that the NDP would win an election right now. That's a big, like, typically, like, just spell this out for the audience, because a lot of times, even if a leader, and we see this in elections all the time, internal polling, I mean, I remember hearing from the Conservative war room, the PC war room, in 2015, after the fact, saying to me very casually, "Oh, we knew we were going to lose like a week out." And I went, "What?" Like, no one was surprised on election night, but they don't let the public know that.
No, okay, so I actually encourage your listeners. I put myself through the whole interview this morning, and one thing I will point out is Naheed Nenshi never answered what the NDP would do. He just fear-mongered his way through. Secondly, there was low-hanging fruit from one of your listeners. What would you do to improve healthcare? And he dodged the question.
He asked what he would do. Yeah, the question was, I think, from Cliff off the top of my
head. He's like,
head.
"I make a great culture for
well, he said, what would you do to attract more doctors without spending more money? I thought it was a great question.
I thought it was a great question, too. And I actually think that Naheed, I thought he was better than he performed, because I thought he could have answered that, but he didn't. I mean, he could have went into a whole qualm about primary care and how to change primary care networks, yada, yada. Like, anyways, it was actually, like, I encourage people, if you want to see what type of leadership Naheed, which is nothing, like Naheed Nenshi will offer, go listen to your interview, because that's a bit
unfair, though.
How? You're going to say, Rachel never did that. Rachel would not come on Ryan Jesperson and sit here and say, "I'm just going to shit on everyone, including the chief of staff." Like, he just fear-mongered his way through, and I did not hear one. I listened specifically to see if he actually said what the NDP would do. Rachel would have used that opportunity, and I can guarantee it.
But opposition, okay, so when the Conservatives are in power, they're like, "Oh, the opposition, they just oppose, they never come with solutions." And then if we switched quickly to the federal party and we were like, "Oh, Poilievre just has talking points, he doesn't have solutions," Conservatives would be like, "Well, he's in opposition, we can't ask him to come with solutions." So it's a little bit of a double standard. Like, I will say, Naheed said the reorganization of the healthcare system has been detrimental to Alberta's healthcare. And he also said that introducing a two-tier healthcare system will pull resources from the public sector into the private sector, and regular people will not have access to the frontline healthcare services that they need. So there's two. Like, the healthcare system in Alberta is super complicated. Those are two starting points that have made healthcare so much less accessible for Albertans. I think that is a completely fair place to start for an opposition party at this point in the election cycle.
So would you reform it? Would you go back exactly? Would you reinstate Alberta Health Services? Would you invest more money in primary care? The question was, how would you do without spending a gastronomical amount of money? And I don't think that he can say that. So I thought it was interesting, just the whole point. Now, him saying, I could win an election. I mean, the guy alludes to his spring election. I don't know which Conservatives he is talking to.
I kind of alluded to a spring election, and that's only because we hear rumblings. Yeah. The Real Talk rumor mill is batting above 500
Can I just break it down
right
to
now,
sorry to break people's hearts?
Yeah,
There's
go ahead.
a new boundaries coming in. Mm-hmm. If you have more than, I think it's 15% redistribution, you have to go through a founding AGM. You have to do a bunch of stuff. Like, for any party to be able to go through that by spring is, as someone that's gone through a bunch of founding AGMs and 3 distributions, Cheryl went through it in 2015 or 2016. But like, going through that fundamentally from a party standpoint is a fucking nightmare. And so the idea of a spring election is like wild to me, based primarily off of the fact that, one, I think that this is the worst the UCP has been doing. Cheryl's right. Public polls have seen them have a drop, like stupid from there. Secondly, that like a boundary redistribution and being able to actually get your war room and your campaign up and running is also not really feasible. And our party rules don't really allow for not like having a bunch of nominations either.
Referendum in the spring, yes or no?
I hope so.
You hope so?
I just want to deal with it. Yeah.
I just want to add into the early election conversation because I, too, Erika, I believe you that no one inside the no one inside the UCP is realistically talking about a spring election right now. But when you look at all the factors that the UCP is facing, including, as Na had mentioned, the upcoming AG report, the RCMP report into the AHS procurement scandal. When you look at the many, many recall petitions in front of the UCP right now, when you look at the division in the UCP's own base and the opposition from a very organized group of the party that was successful in taking out Jason Kenney, and you combine that with the forward-looking projections of a drop in oil prices that will have a huge impact on Alberta's budget, the UCP would be absolutely crazy not to consider an early election. Maybe spring is too early, but I think the fall is a realistic target for them.
But if all that stuff comes out, why wouldn't you want an 18-month runway? Like, if all of this stuff comes...
Well, unless it keeps getting worse.
Yeah, but like...
And I think it's going to keep getting worse.
And I would say that even if oil drops, there's a potential that in 18 months it goes back up. There's a pipeline. She talked on when she was on your show, Ryan, about all the healthcare reforms. Like, it's literally in the middle of construction. So it just, from a calculated standpoint, it's just, I would balance the risk reward of what you're saying, Cheryl, because I hear you and I understand that. But again, like, you also have to remember the last person that Danielle Smith went into an early election with was Jim Prentice after crossing a floor. And I would think that might keep her up at night as well. So I'm sure.
But at a certain point, you have to say, like, do we actually have, what is the probability of us getting reelected on the real calendar? The real
and if
calendar?
I would
and those numbers are going to drop for them going forward. And then just to address your point about like, oh, we've got these boundary redistribution. We've got to follow the letter of the law. We have a whole bunch of policies in place that mean that we cannot possibly be ready for an early election. I mean, the UCP has proven time and time and time again that if they don't like a regulation, that if they don't like a law, that if they don't like a rule, they will just rewrite it. And so I don't know why anyone would think that they wouldn't do that to serve their political purposes in this case.
She said it on the show. I mean, she didn't put it that way, Premier. She didn't say, do we have that clip, Johnny? Can we grab it? When Premier
she basically said, if we want to change a law,
like,
we can change a law.
We can change the law anytime
they're elected.
Yeah,
the risk is if people hate, that's really how government works,
and
guys.
Like what she said is not wrong.
It's not how it's supposed to work.
But it was very matter of fact.
To say it just like straight out, though, is kind of...
and she probably meant it in what I'm taking it as, is like, that's literally how government works.
She was being
pass
candid.
A bill.
She was being candid for sure.
Let's do the short. It's in the short.
Okay, why don't we... So here's Premier Danielle Smith in her own words. This was on the... what's today, the 12th, 11th, the 10th, the 9th. This would be the 9th of December if you want to check it out in our archives. But here's the short. Do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada?
Well, I think it's obvious by my actions. The answer is yes, and I have to persuade others that that's the case as well. It's obviously not a blank check, right?
This after the courts had ruled that a separation question was unconstitutional. You referred to the courts as gatekeepers here, so you don't think they should be part of the equation. Do you have faith in the judiciary?
Parliament and legislatures are supreme. We can pass a law anytime we like. We can change a law anytime we like. We can revise a law anytime we like, because we're the democratically elected body. What we observe is that the spirit of the law was not being executed as intended. The spirit of the law was to give citizens the right to put a question forward. Whether it was the chief electoral officer who was the gatekeeper or a court that was being the gatekeeper, that was not the intentions. And it's up to us as a government, when we hear the will of the people, to implement the policy in a constitutional way. And that's what we'll do. But we don't want to stop the conversations from happening.
That legislation that your government introduced also gives the Alberta Prosperity Project, that's that separatist group, the ability to reapply to start collecting signatures for an independence referendum. People are trying to square this circle. You go on the record, you say that you believe that Alberta should remain in Canada, but time and time again, you're making it easier for the separatists. What do you say to those folks?
I think Thomas made it easy for the separatists. He's the one who put forward a referendum question saying, do you want to remain in Canada, yes or no? I don't know if he gave any thought to what would happen if the no movement won. And so I think now he's saying, don't put it to a referendum now, just put it to a vote of the legislature. But that's not what the document said. We are going to continue demonstrating that Canada works. I hope that we'll be able to persuade enough people that Canada works.
Is a referendum inevitable? And if so, when?
I'll watch and see. And we put Thomas's Forever Canada petition calling for a referendum to a committee, or we will. We'll do an assessment based on what they're seeing at the time, what the different ways are that we could deal with it. But I don't want to prejudge that outcome. But we'll be making a decision on the composition of that committee in the new year.
Premier Smith on Real Talk.
Yeah, that was way longer than like the one line.
Your face lit up when she said basically she pins all this on Thomas.
I know. I looked
which
at you.
thought
I was like, I love it.
Oh wow,
it's true though. Like what a funny outcome of everyone being like patriotic signing Thomas's thing. Cheryl and I've talked about that on our episode about like what could he do with these lists that's legal and not. Like, is it a bigger thing?
He can't do anything with them. The lists have been destroyed.
Yeah, no, I know. But
and if he ever did, it would be seen as one of the most unethical.
Oh yeah.
The biggest ethical breaches in Alberta's history, which is saying something.
I love that everything is like the biggest. Like
the biggest, the most, the wildest, the craziest. Subscribe today at RyanJesperson.com.
I honestly, so this is my understanding. Like, what I would just say is let's just put it to vote. Actually, Naheed Nenshi said that the separatist movement, one thing I agreed with him on is like it might discourage investor confidence. So why not just get this and address it and rip off the Band-Aid, right? Thomas brought forward a referendum question. Mm-hmm. They'll send it to committee. It's like it hits the thresholds. It has all the signatures above and beyond. And so just do it. Just ask the question. I don't think that we're going to get more than like 24% maybe that would support a thing, and just put the damn thing to bed.
Yeah.
That would be my way of
Cheryl,
it.
I'm trying to read your body language, whether you agree or disagree.
She's got such a stoic face.
She has a very stoic face right now.
I'm watching her Zoom camera. I'm like, there's no change. I want to hear her.
I have all the feels on my face.
Yeah. No, I really don't want to have a referendum question. We can say now in terms of where this is bubbling in the public discourse that like, let's just do it. Let's just get it over with. Let's just move past it. But if this actually goes to a referendum, you're going to have really organized campaigns on either side of this that are arguing, let's just assume in very compelling ways for the yes side and the no side. And that is going to be, no matter what, very detrimental for Alberta. Can you imagine, like during the midst, and I don't know how long a campaign would go for, but during the midst of those campaigns, people who are making decisions about buying a house in Alberta, investing in Alberta, expanding their company in Alberta, all of that will be on hold. And there will be long-term implications because of those decisions made in the process. So no matter what, a referendum question will be detrimental to Alberta. And I don't think a no outcome stops the separatists.
Well, I mean, you're probably right, Cheryl, in this. No, you are right in the sense that, like, they're not going to go, oh, well, and just, like, pack up their tents and go home and shut the fuck up. Like, that's not going to happen for sure. But I think that the idea, there's a reason that the whole scoreboard thing is a thing in sports, including with your Edmonton Oilers, who have just moved Stuart Skinner and Kulak to the Penguins. No, but scoreboard is kind of like the ultimate, right? In elections, in fundraising, in everything, in petitions for that matter. Scoreboard matters. And if you can look at this and say, the tale of the tape is that when this province, blew $50 million to have a referendum, and 3 out of 4 people said that they want to stay in Canada, the conversation is closed and the Premier's not obligated to even entertain that anymore. Now, the interesting flip side is how much of the UCP base members, those that vociferously support her, want to see it kept as part of the national conversation, and her own political survival as leader probably hinges more on it than the bigger picture around the province, right?
Well, I would just say, I was at the AGM. I was on your show talking about it. And I said there's a lot of people that I asked questions to, and they were like, we still support her. We just don't see enough in this MOU, that they're still looking for separation. But I think when you're looking at it from outside of maybe that grumbly group that I agree with Cheryl, will probably always be grumbly and always want that. But for the message it sends, hate using tax dollars for stuff like this. But I actually think because of her commitment to, if it's brought forward, we'll have a referendum. Like the cherry on the cake or cherry on top of the cake for me is like Thomas being the one that would bring it forward, because I just find it fucking comical. And then
why is it so comical?
Because I used to work with him. I used to work for him, and I've just watched his career after getting out of politics, and it's just like that craving to be relevant. And now it's like, now you're relevant in like the worst way possible, though. That's the thing, is like you can wish for something.
Spell it out for me. You're saying the worst way possible in the sense that, let's say,
he's literally asked a referendum question, and he looks stupid because he didn't even put 2 and 2 together.
Two and two together in what sense?
That he was asking, if you bring forward Let's Stay in Canada, that is a referendum question.
Sure.
Like the fact that he didn't get it, and he was like, why are the separatists not organizing like I am? And it's like, because you're doing it for them, buddy. And so I just find it comical that it's like the irony behind him trying to be relevant versus putting Alberta in this situation that is doing what the separatists wanted in the first place.
But I would say this is like at no point, unless I missed this, but we talked to him through the signature collection process. We talked to him when it launched, and at no point, and Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I don't remember any point through that process him saying, I actually don't want a referendum. Like he said that after the fact, right?
Yeah.
Like that was.
But that's what Erika's saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying that he
like
didn't really think about it until it was already done.
But
and then was like, oh shit, what did I do?
I'm just saying maybe this is. I'm not going to say chestnut checkers. I don't think it goes that high level. But I don't necessarily like. I get why people like Thomas Lukaszuk and Naheed Nenshi and others. David Cameron would say it probably, and others that like it doesn't always work out well when you go to referendum. Brexit screwed everybody, and et cetera, et cetera. I get that, but also like I'm not afraid of a referendum question, and I invited, and I think I'm a kind of a middle of the road pragmatic person. I'm the furthest thing away from a separatist. I don't know like deep down inside that it's like the worst thing for anybody, or that Lukaszuk gets owned by this or fooled by this. Like at the end of the day, if his petition forces Albertans to a referendum and the referendum is successful in keeping Alberta in Canada and quelling the movement, then at the end of the day, it's still a win for him.
Sure, I guess. I mean, I just want it to
Isn't
happen.
it?
I don't know. Like, I just think probably at the end of the day, it would be like, yes, he brought it forward. It was just real sloppy to get there.
I see.
And so I think that maybe it's unintentional that he would then be deemed the victor of it. But ultimately, I think the bigger question isn't about Thomas. It's about like the bigger investor confidence, the conversation. Like the rest of the country keeps watching Alberta, and it's like, can we just get on with it?
And that's where we want to avoid a situation. Cheryl, I'll hand the conch over to you, but you want to avoid a situation where like literally everybody loses, right? Like investor confidence tanks and the real estate market tanks, and you know, the sort of the flow of new Albertans starts to slow, and we can't staff our businesses. That's when everybody's going to get hurt by this, right?
And Cheryl, sorry, I think you might talk about Quebec, so I just
Typical.
want to get it in front of it.
Typical,
Well, come to
she
studio.
says.
Come to studio, girl. But that like Quebec was very close. I don't think an Alberta referendum will be close in the same sense of what happened as fallout in Quebec. So I think
was
it's like
50-50.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
it's
I
crazy to think about.
was in French immersion. We watched it really
But
closely.
I think like I don't think anyone really believes that a referendum vote will end in the no camp like winning. Pardon me, having the majority. I think the problem is that they get so much airtime and so much platform about their campaign, and they get to stir up a whole bunch of people who wouldn't have necessarily been agitating about this in the first place. And probably like there is obviously, like we all have seen the polling, there's like 20% bubbling for a decade that think that Alberta should separate from Canada. That has bumped up just a little bit since like it bumped up just after the federal election. If the number in the no vote was much higher than that in a referendum, I would think that would be a really big success for that side of the campaign. And yes, they lose the referendum, but it probably gives them a little bit of win to keep their campaign going. So like, I think the idea of what's a win for the no campaign is a conversation worth talking about and what the implications of that are, because I don't think anyone on the no side believes that they'll win. It's just like, how can they use this to forward their movement and their campaign, their long-term campaign?
I want to give a shout out, rewinding to why Naheed Nenshi did not propose solutions to Alberta's woes in his Real Talk interview on the 11th of December. Alberta rancher with an incredible poll with a Canadian retail reference. Says when Eaton's told Sears their plans, look what happened to Eaton's. Which I don't really know. I mean, I guess what happened to Sears
There's
as
a
well.
saying like, did
And
Eaton's tell
Zellers
Sears
and
there's business?
everybody else.
My dad uses it
So-
on all the time when he doesn't want to answer a question. So I get
there
it.
you go. T6 says Nenshi didn't allude to a spring election. He said that his internal polling suggests they'd win if they had an election now. Nia says he said they have a plan, researched, hired experts to create a plan for healthcare. He has no obligation to explain until an actual election campaign. Behind the screen says this is why even Nenshi isn't left wing. We pay for healthcare by taxing wealth. And Jay Best says Nenshi's already stated he wouldn't upset the apple cart. He said that would be too much change in too short a time. I don't know how Nenshi would upset the apple cart, but it's not up to him.
Maybe
to
the
drive an election,
reform,
but
full out reform or something.
we kind of did let him not let him get away with, but I'm just curious for your response to the Rob Anderson thing, which is actually kind of a big shot across the
I think
bow.
he's a crush on Rob Anderson.
Well, so
I'm
Rob
just gonna throw it
Anderson,
out there.
former Wild Rose Party MLA, longtime colleague of Danielle Smith's in many different ways, now the executive director of the Premier's office.
Chief of staff.
Yeah, chief of staff.
Yep.
Yeah?
He used to be executive
Oh, it
director.
shakes around, shakes up a lot, doesn't it? Thanks for holding
Just
me
a title.
holding my feet to the fire
Yeah.
there. Just
Facts,
a title,
Ryan. I lead with facts always.
always. But suggesting there's no plan, no strategy. What would you say if Nenshi said that when you were sitting there?
Well, if Nenshi knew the strategy, then that wouldn't be very effective for the government, now would it? Like, I do believe that they have a plan. I do believe, like, if you're looking at the healthcare where like 6 months ago, we're like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, what is going to really happen here? You're starting to see it roll out as recent as like 2 announcements this week. I actually feel like we're starting to see all the work that the government announced, and maybe people were waiting for something. So I do think there's a strategy. I do think that there's a plan. And a lot of it is exactly what Danielle Smith said she was going to do in the first place.
Cheryl?
Disagree.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that they don't have a plan. The problem is that it's not the plan that they ran on. It's not the mandate that they have. They have spent like session after session bringing in proposals that they didn't run on in the election, some that they explicitly said they would not do when they were asked in the election. And so I do think they have a plan. I just don't think that the plan is the public plan. I don't think it's what Albertans supported. And I don't think that it is like the long-term goal of the plan is not how do we make life better for Albertans? How do we make sure that Albertans get access to the services that they need access to? How do we make sure that we, in like this wealthy province, have the best education and the best healthcare system? The plan is how do we ensure that we get reelected in the next election and the election after that? And I think that is a disservice to Albertans.
When's the last time, like, to be fair, like Rachel Notley didn't campaign on a carbon tax in 2015, right? Like when's the last, is there
I know, but Erika loves to throw that back. But like
Ryan threw it. I just sat here
threw
so
it,
politely.
But I do think it's
no, but Erika was like probably just so excited.
Did you get a little shot of adrenaline when I said it? Did you? But
Not like I did
can
when
I just
Thomas.
say though, the NDP ran on a plan to curb emissions. We said that we would bring in experts to decide what is the best way to introduce a climate plan in Alberta, which is exactly what we did. And the experts said on that panel, and also conservatives, small c conservatives across the country, had also agreed that a carbon tax was the best and most economical way to reduce emissions. And so, yeah, we introduced that based on the panel, which is what we ran on. Did we explicitly run on a carbon tax? No, because you can imagine, as the fourth party with 4 seats, we did not have the resources to pull together that panel.
And it would have been a guaranteed loss.
Yeah, like the corporate tax increase last election.
Yeah, I want to see which Alberta premier is going to be the first to talk about a sales tax and introduce a sales tax.
Neither. I don't think either will.
Off
Maybe
the top
Pete
of my
Guthrie.
head, this is off the top of my
Monday.
head. Pete Guthrie in just a moment. Off the top of my head, I may be wrong about this, but here's a holiday trivia question for you all. You can all ask this question around your holiday dinner tables and look like the smartest person in the room. Unless I'm wrong, refresh my memory. Danielle Smith, next election, will be attempting to do something that Ralph Klein last did in Alberta.
Get 2 elections as consecutively as premier.
Get reelected.
Yeah.
It definitely
I
won't be paying
destroy
off the
that.
debt.
Oh, zingy.
Ralph Klein, the last Alberta premier to be reelected. That's crazy.
No,
if you
well, I
actually
know
think
this
about it.
because how many of my leaders
Yeah.
have been thrown out.
I'm not trying to. It's not salt in the wound. There's no wound. Your team is.
We're doing okay.
Your party is governing. It's not a wound. But let me ask you about Peter Guthrie, Scott Sinclair. They sat here, about a week ago, approximately. People can check that interview out in our archives. Pretty interesting stuff. Since then, Guthrie has been installed as leader of the Alberta Party. Scott Sinclair, as of the time we're doing this show, unless I've not received an update, has yet to join the Alberta
I
Party.
sent that to you
an
guys
independent
in our little group chat.
Yeah. Well, what do you
Where
make
the fuck
of
is
the
Scott
whole,
Sinclair?
Yeah.
That's all I don't
Well,
care about Pete. Like, you go do your Alberta Party. I don't think anyone's surprised. But, like, are they broken up now? Like, what's happening?
I doubt it.
There.
So technically independents, but and everybody knows the UCP is suing the two of them, and they don't want them using the name Progressive Conservative for sure. How much of a threat does this? Well, maybe we'll start with the Conservative. This is your party that's sort of managing this, dealing with this. Your party's suing them. How much of a threat could this be?
I don't think much. I mean, I think that Pete's a great human. I don't think he's a leader. I wouldn't say on any outlet have I seen him or Scott come with actual solutions and difference. Pete looks to me like he's just very angry, and his tone, Scott actually I think is a little bit more tempered and comes across as like actually in good faith looking for alternatives and frustrated with the government, where Pete just really holds the AHS investigation or scandal, and like I don't even think he can see clearly to what the Alberta Party would look like.
Cheryl?
I mean, first, I don't think the lawsuit matters anymore because, like so many things, the UCP has introduced legislation that makes the judicial arm, the check and balance here, completely null, which is to say that they've banned the use of the word progressive in the names of political parties in Alberta.
And conservative, right?
And conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they can't have that name anymore. And I think there is a lot, there's a lot in there that tells you about how worried the UCP are about Albertans having a real conservative option in Alberta. And Erika can say, Pete doesn't have a plan, he doesn't have ideas, but I do think that Pete and Scott have done a good job of echoing, many of the conservatives I know that are saying I'm a, fiscal conservative, I'm a social progressive, I don't have a home in the UCP anymore, I'm looking for more of the bread and butter and of PCs of Alberta Conservative Party's past that Danielle Smith and the UCP are just not introducing, not running on, not campaigning on. And I do think that's a real threat. There are many who say that the brand, is broken, that it was hurt in the last few elections. But based on my own personal experience and based on polling that you've seen, the brand still has power in Alberta. And especially right now, I think people are feeling a little nostalgic, pardon me, for the days that the Conservative Party was more of a typical Conservative Party.
So I want to come
agree.
back. Yeah, so I do agree with the fact that I think there are a lot of people that don't feel like they have a political home.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to what would they run on, I actually think it would wedge a little bit more on the progressive side if they go the way of a true progressive party and they're looking at being that true centrist party. I think it actually could also hurt the NDP if done well. And the reason why is, you look at the Alberta NDP, and I even look at any other jurisdiction. The Alberta NDP is closer to a Liberal party, especially under now Naheed Nenshi, who's been tied to the Liberals, than they are the true NDP ideologues. And so I actually see if a
NDP leaders in past have not worn ascots, you're
yes,
saying.
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
But
or purple.
Let's make sure that we're clear that Prairie New Democrats have always been a different brand than the federal party and BC New Democrats, because the economy in these jurisdictions force us to be. No one can just say because of ideology, I'm going to shut down all of these jobs. So yes, if you compare the NDP on the prairies to NDP in different sections of the country and federally, we're always going to look a little more centrist.
But if the Alberta Party, in what the Alberta Party was founded on, and call it whatever you want, right? But if it sits there, it is meant to be the true centrist party, which I actually think might eat more lunch of the NDP if done correctly than UCP, because of who they're going after, right? I think there's people on both sides, probably on the UCP and the NDP, that are I just don't have a party and I had to pick one. I actually would argue in many cases they would pick to not vote for the NDP if there was a true centrist party.
Maybe a bit of a deep pull here, a reference for our Edmonton audience, but it's kind of like the Michael Walters disruptor in the municipal election.
He just disrupted nothing.
Where I know, but I know that the Tim Cartmel supporters want to believe, and I say this respectfully, we all know people that worked on all the campaigns, but they want to believe that Michael Walters' entry into that race is what screwed Tim Cartmel's bid to become Edmonton's next mayor. But I do believe that the support that Michael Walters saw, which was not necessarily significant, but significant enough to be part of the conversations, I think he pulled voters from Cartmel and NAC. And I can see a centrist provincial party doing the same thing. I don't know, and it pains me to say this, but I don't know that a centrist political party can win in Alberta right now, unless the UCP swings so hard right. And I don't know what further you'd have to do. Banning library books and implementing anti-trans laws with notwithstanding clause.
Let's get all that porn out of classrooms. Shame on you.
Oh, give me a fucking break. No porn in classroom. The education
literally
minister,
blowjobs.
Yeah. So do you think that
book.
Should teenagers know about blowjobs?
Should grade sixes? Hopefully
There's not grade sixes taking out books on blowjobs. This is not a good faith argument. I asked the education minister.
We use blowjob a lot in this episode.
Nothing new there. We had Glory Hole in an episode just the other day on Monday. Yeah, so it was good. Earmuffs, kids. But anyway, the point is, I don't know what else the UCP would have to do to be perceived as further right, but I don't know, maybe a window opens up. I just know what I see. I know that so many wonderful people have poured so many hours into trying to help that Alberta Party really get off the ground over the past 15, 20 years. They had a compelling lead. Like Greg Clark was a compelling leader. Then they figured the leader was the problem, and then they tried to recruit a bunch of leaders, and some of those people didn't want to do it. And then Stephen Mandel stepped in, and he, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what you would need. You'd need like Wayne Gretzky to come back, and like even then now he's polluted with Trump. I don't know.
You've made it come back to the Edmonton Oilers so many times this episode. I'm
we're
like
serving
impressed.
our audience. I need to make a couple Flames references to make it happen. But I don't know. I'd like to see another option for voters. I'd be interested to see what could happen. But I'm not necessarily sure, Cheryl. I kind of get the sense that people feel like it's a two-party system in Alberta right now.
Well, and that could be the case. I do think, though, depending on what, I think there's potential for Pete Guthrie and Scott Sinclair to make something of this. I think part of the problem, like Erika's saying, they could eat NDP vote as well. Yeah. In how they've presented their position so far, I would say likely not, because there's still going to be a pretty right of center party based on what I've heard so far. It's like when you ask them the question, is your ideology socially progressive? They basically say no. Like, they have different words to describe how they view social policies, and that leaves that big flank, like center, left of center for the NDP. I imagine them positioning themselves as a more moderate conservative option, which is what so many like UCP voters are looking for right now. And so it probably splits the UCP vote, because as we know, a united party sometimes has trouble staying united. It probably splits that vote more than others, but to your point, Ryan, like for the Alberta Party to really get off the ground and be a real contender in the next election, not in one seat, but in the province, that is a huge lift, especially with the suggestion that we could be in an early election. That's a lot of work to do between now and the next election, even if it goes on time. And it seems like unlikely, although you never know in politics these days.
Look at the BC Conservatives. I mean, not recent, but like BC Conservatives pulled it off. The leader currently didn't, but
oh my gosh,
but
they lost still.
Yeah, no, but they still lost. But I mean, look at that gain, right? They actually did make from a party that was nothing. Like, that's still a case study for history. So it is possible.
Well, Cheryl was part of something like that. Not a party that was nothing. No offense, but like 4 seats to 54 overnight is wild.
Yeah, and people don't expect it. Even the people that we're working on it.
And if you look at it, I mean, like there are parallels to the story, right? Like, as if I'm going to lecture you guys about it. You guys were part of it. I was just an observer, but the whole Prentice thing, and like there had been a bumpy road in the debates ahead of time, and the math is hard thing, and the look in the mirror thing, and the entitlement. And people were coming off Alison Redford and the Plains and the Sky Palace and the whole 9 yards, right? Like there was this sense of like, fuck these guys, and voters were feeling that, and there was trouble in paradise, and I think everybody thought that, well, like the PCs aren't actually going to lose. They never lose. They've been government for like 11 straight or more.
It's a protest vote that went wrong.
Right?
But it's also like sometimes, and I do see this happening currently in politics in Alberta. Like, if you ask people, is the like healthcare procurement, is that vote determining right now? Probably not. Like, most people don't understand it well enough to say my vote is going to be determined by this. But when you take that, when you take the notwithstanding clause, when you take overriding the judicial system, when you take access to healthcare right now, when you take the upcoming AG report, when you add all of that up, sometimes, and I would say 2015 was an example of this, sometimes that crystallizes as people are forced to make a choice. And you won't see it in the polling leading up because they're not forced to make a choice. But when they really get asked, like, is this the person you want to keep leading the province compared to the alternative, sometimes that you'll see a pretty massive shift to the other side.
Yep. Before we go,
that's why you wait 18 months till election.
Yeah, sure. I got to ask you two just about something real quick. Just and again, this is a little bit of cherry picking on my part, because I'm going to be honest, I've not paid close attention at all to budget deliberations in Calgary or Edmonton, except at a surface level where I think most normal people are paying attention. But a tale of two cities.
Oh yeah.
Calgary.
I want to live in Calgary.
With a 2% property tax increase, Edmonton at 7%. I know that city councilors are going to go, well, it's 6.9. It's 7 in how real people talk. A 5-point swing between the two cities. Cheryl, it benefits you, not us. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I will say I did not pay really close attention to the deliberations on this. Yeah. But I mean, it's the classic argument here. It is tough. It's a tough decision to make. I think it is telling that the city's landed in much different positions. But obviously, the years leading up to budget decisions like this are what forces councils to make these tough choices. If you want better transit, if you want more services, if you want, improved infrastructure, that money has to come from somewhere. And the classic argument is these councils are trying to balance what they feel citizens elected them to improve and the cost of doing that. And the province has multiple levers to pull on to flush their budget or to find the money to pay for those things. The city has so few levers that these conversations become a really, there's only one thing you can do. If you want to do all those things, you have to increase property taxes. So I don't really have, like I said, I didn't watch it really closely, but I do think it would be a really tough decision to make and a really a tough first decision for new councillors.
Yeah, I don't think it's a secret that Edmonton Councillor Reid Clark and I are pretty tight.
You endorsed him.
I did endorse him. And so when I'm talking to people, I endorse winners. When I'm talking to people and I say a source within Edmonton Council, everyone's going to go, that's Reid Clark.
Yeah.
But he told me, Cheryl, exactly what you said. He said that he felt like their hands were tied. He went in there with the best intentions. He says next budget, I think they're looking at, again, in 6 months, they'll start to review the next kind of stuff and whatever for the next cycle. But he conveyed that same sort of a thing. He was particularly frustrated, and he goes, the thing that sucks for him and for every councillor, although some of them I get the impression they're not too concerned about property tax increases like this, at least it's not 10% is the thought, but he's going to have to go back to the people that voted him in that are going to go, what the hell, and then he's going to have to regurgitate the exact same thing that politicians always say, which is it was the government before us that created this landscape.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's different for someone like Reid Clark, who was just elected. This is his first budget deliberations and going through this. There's a lot of incumbents in Edmonton that, including the mayor, who have to, I think, and should rightfully wear this differently and have to, defend it and be held accountable to the people that sadly reelected them.
I don't think they're too concerned about it.
No, I don't think they are. That's, I think, the issue.
I don't think it bothers them that much.
No. But I think
the hard part too is that I'm not sure. This seems like basic economics and politics. It just blows my mind sometimes that citizens want all these services. They want everything to get better. They want more police. They want more infrastructure. They want, better access to whatever municipal services, but they don't want to pay more. And that is just not possible.
Yeah.
And so right now there is no council anywhere that wants to increase policy or property taxes at a time when affordability has been and will continue to be the number one issue for people. This is their only way to make life more affordable. No one wants to increase taxes. So this is sure, yes, I absolutely agree that past council should wear this, but I think citizens need to also understand that if you want all of this stuff, there's only one place the money can come from.
Yeah, I think the challenge in Edmonton is that there was a lot of increase on the last couple of budgets, right? Increase in property taxes. And I've never door knocked and heard how discontent people were with city council. Ironically, reelected them at less than 30%
turnout.
But I mean, you're going to bitch at a door, go vote, right? And so there was construction, lack of poor planning, a lot of these things, some of these things poor planning is I think one of the things that doesn't necessarily have the same price point or need to increase property taxes. It's literally just a core service that if you're going to announce all these things and make us pay for the investment, just do it fucking smarter.
Are we allowed to tell people what we're working on later today?
Well, yeah, because now it's just mean to not tell them.
Okay.
No, this is our announcement on Real Talk.
I'm very excited.
Okay, Cheryl's going to do it.
Oh, Brian's going to come on our show for our final episode of the Discourse. We're wrapping up the season as we head into the holiday season. And we are so grateful to be invited on Real Talk all the time. And we know we have a lot of the same listeners. Yep. So we are just delighted, Ryan, that you will join us on our final episode of the year.
Happy holidays, Ryan. Come work for us.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas,
well,
everyone.
You guys, we have loved what you guys are doing since the beginning. And it's been awesome to partner with you in different ways. And we love having you on the show here. And I'm honored to do it. So,
and we're giving you kind of free reign too, so people gotta tune in. I mean, we'll have
really?
some
well, just think, I can finally unload all my hot takes.
Yeah,
I haven't had a platform for them, but I'm looking forward to it. Thank you both for doing this. We love when you're on the show. You get the audience all fired up, which is great, and you make people think. I think, which is the whole point of the Discourse in your pod, to be seeing things outside of kind of their own circle. I love this from Alan, who is in our live chat. He says the biases here are so obvious.
Right,
yeah,
Alan. Yeah, that's the point.
I love in our comment section all the time. People are like, "Your partisanship is showing," or like, "I can't." You're so biased. I'm like,
point.
"Yeah, explicitly. Like we say
This
that.
is
That's
the
point of the
show.
show.
Or people come on and we talk about how, like, we love our comment section. So we always, like, screenshot and talk about them and, like, go comment back.
Yeah.
But Cheryl, like, we'll both come on and they'll either love Cheryl or love me. And it's like, they don't like the other person. We're like, the whole point is to show that you can have conversations
along.
respectfully with people you disagree with. You putting that in the comment and calling, like, you know, her something or me something, I'm like, that's actually retroactive to what we're hoping happens here.
Yeah, sure. Well, that was like when you joined us. It was the morning after the UCP's AGM, and it was you and you, me, and Supriya Dwivedi, which was so much fun as well. And I think people are trying to wrap their mind around that friendship.
We worked together for a couple of years, right? And we both were on a bunch of panels together before that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, people can check that episode out. That was the 1st of December. Man, time flies. Good to have you both here. Thanks for doing this. Only 30 minutes past when we asked you to stay, so that's pretty good. We're making
we'll
progress
hold you to
here.
time, Ryan.
We're making progress here, and I'm looking forward to being on the next episode of The Discourse. Remember, you can subscribe to that wherever you get your podcasts, and they're on YouTube as well. This conversation has been presented in part by our friends at Athabasca University. This is Canada's open university. And I promise, guys, I did promise you I'm not going to spend like a ton of time talking about New Year's resolutions, but I do know that a lot of you, when the calendar clicks over to 2026, a lot of you are going to start thinking about your plans for the next year and beyond, maybe starting to consider a career move or leveling up on your education, your job readiness, let's call it. Athabasca University with world-class accredited online degrees and courses designed so you can complete your education wherever and whenever it works for you. You can learn more about tuition and fees, financial supports, and the like by visiting their website. Learn about the AU Advantage at athabascau.ca. Our friends at North Road Investment Council, a valuable and important message. This could benefit you and the charities you support. Through the month of December, a lot of you are looking at your charitable giving. You're starting to decide where you're going to deploy your capital, so to speak, right? These are the nonprofits, the community groups that deserve your support, and that's what you hand out in December. But did you know that if you donate appreciated investments instead of cash, like stocks or ETFs or mutual funds that have grown in value, the capital gains tax that you would have paid on those appreciated securities is totally exempt. And that means that more of your money is going to go to the charity of your choice and less to the CRA. Plus, personal donors can access generous federal, provincial tax credits. Business owners can receive strong corporate tax deductions, all designed to reward meaningful giving. This is a perfect time of year to connect with Marshall and Carrie and the team at North Road Investment Council. They want to help you, investors, make the most of these rules so your generosity can go further. They're all about intelligent giving strategies. You can reach out to them today by checking out northroadic.com. And now here's a couple organizations that deserve your consideration. Number one, the Royal Alexandra Hospital, 125 years, if you can believe it, providing transformative health care. We're sharing every week here on Real Talk, every Tuesday, Echoes of the Alex. These are the stories, and there's countless stories of lives that have been changed. In many cases, lives saved by the doctors, nurses, the surgeons, the team at the Royal Alexandra Hospital. In commemoration of those 125 years, they've got a beautiful limited edition history book, hardcover, stunning graphics, The Alex, and it's on sale for the holidays, including this coming Monday, December 15th. You can pick up a copy at the Royal Alexandra Hospital Food Court and have it signed by the author. They'll even gift wrap it for free. What a thoughtful holiday gift for a loved one in your life who feels very connected to the Royal Alex. That's Monday, December 15th from 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon at the Royal Alex Hospital Food Court, ATC Level B. You can learn more at royalalex.org. You can also consider making a donation directly online. Give for the future in honor of the past at royalalex.org. And our charity of choice this year is UCAN Youth Services, and we're encouraging you to help make Christmas brighter for young people that are entering the workforce. These are young people that have shown a great degree of initiative through participating, in particular in two different UCAN programs, the Verto Project and the Road to Work program. Those are up-and-coming construction tradespeople. Learn more about the programs at ucan.ca, but here's our call to action. Help make Christmas brighter for a young person by giving the gift of confidence. You can stuff a stocking at ucan.ca. Young people, that could use a bus pass or warm socks for outdoor work on a construction site, as an example. A coffee gift card. Who can't use that? We're hoping to stuff as many stockings as we can. You can find the menu there. Donate as little as $10 for a coffee gift card or stuff a full stocking for $100. Make Christmas brighter for a young person today at youcan.ca. A ton of comments here continuing in our live chat. Powered by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider. Super Chat Ken says, get ready, folks. The UCP will be raising all kinds of taxes in the next budget, all disguised as user fees. Ken says they have no choice. You know, Ken, I see, and maybe this is a reference that you're getting to here, user fees are identified by a lot of people as a way to keep taxes lower, right? They want to keep the taxes lower. This is what Ken's alluding to, is that the government can look good. The outlook can be a bit rosier if they're not going to carry the load, but they're going to pass the buck, so to speak, and pass that burden along to either facilities users or municipalities or what have you. Not everybody thinks that's a bad idea. Typically, the people that think it's the worst idea are the people that use those services, right? People that don't want to see ridership costs increase for transit, or people that don't want to see rec center fees increase, or people that don't want to see library cards all of a sudden cost you $30 or $50 a year, whatever the case may be. Alberta Girl says a sales tax will increase costs and the affordability crisis will get worse. The UCP should stop spending on stupid shit like provincial policy, Turkish Tylenol. The list I saw, says Alberta Girl, was nearly $10 billion in waste. Johnny, they've always called a sales tax in Alberta the third rail of Alberta politics. It's like the subway reference. You step on the third rail, you get electrocuted, and you're immediately killed. Mm-hmm. It would be the third rail for a government to propose a sales tax in Alberta. It's all oftentimes identified as, a big part of the Alberta advantage. Lowest taxes in Canada, including no sales tax, no harmonized sales tax, no HST. But if you look at the price of oil, if it continues to drop and the government's looking at deficit positions year after year after year after year, if oil doesn't bounce back and get to that sweet spot they needed at like $70, you got to wonder. Anytime you talk to a political leader in Alberta, and I have 15 to 20 years of experience in this, in interviews, and you even ask them about a sales tax, their eyes kind of, in a conversation, maybe it happens at a Christmas party or otherwise, you can see you've lost someone immediately. When you ask them a question, they've checked out. Yeah. I've never met a political leader that on the record will even entertain the idea of a sales tax. It'd be a gutsy move.
Well, why not, though? Are you that opposed to it?
I've proposed
We make more than most people in other provinces, so I don't see
I have my own plan, which I revealed on a terrestrial radio station years ago, and people lost their minds. Yeah. But I think you go back to the flat income tax, and you introduce a sales tax. Yeah. And then you find some way to have, maybe what you do is you raise the exemption on the flat income tax. So maybe you say that you're not going to pay any income tax on earnings up to whatever and bump that number up. Sure. And then I think that, a flat income tax is something that'll, keep obviously people feeling as though they can control a little bit more of their expenditures. Now, people will say, there's certain things where a sales tax, and that was this what this audience member was saying in the chat here, is that it will punish lower income Albertans more heavily. And so you got to make sure, same with the GST, that there are certain things that are going to be tax exempt. And so obviously already people aren't paying GST on things like groceries, on certain personal hygiene items, and you got to create some sort of exemption there. But I don't know how much longer Alberta can go, and I'm not saying this is in the next 6 to 12 months, but I think at some point, unless Alberta works some magic around its energy economy and really truly diversifies and finds a way to keep that landscape looking how it has, I don't know. I think that conversation is inevitable at some point. Dwayne says the Alberta PCs were thinking about a PST for Alberta back in 2007. Explorer Hollis says Jespo for Premier. That new shiny red carpet will look good under your boots. Yeah, I don't know. Michael says, that'll still benefit the rich because they're exempt too. Damn it all says name one province with a sales tax that is better off. Just one of them. I mean, I would say this is that those provinces, if they didn't have a sales tax, they'd be even more screwed.
Worse off.
They'd be worse off, right?
I guess all of them.
Right? Others you say behind the screen says, no, we need a marginal tax rate of 90% on earnings over $5 million. That's bonkers. That would chase. I know that a lot of you will say, well, people earning $5 million, they can afford to whatever. But like, if you want to chase wealth out of a jurisdiction, like, that's nuts. I mean, maybe you're being ridiculous, or maybe it's a typo, but 90%. Bunny Slippers says an extra 1% on large corps, an extra 3% on high income earners over $250,000 would do it.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, and I would say this is like Alberta could raise corporate income tax and still be the lowest corporate income tax jurisdiction in the province, in the country.
Business
right?
tax as well is lowest.
It's also like it's a risky move, like optically. Governments have there's things that happen in practice, and then there's things that are just optically are an influence. And if it comes across as though and even if you said a 1% increase on income tax, they would spin it as like the total of what you'd be paying. So they would be talking about, well, that's actually like an increase of like 12%, right? They never take the actual 1 point of interest. They'll take what it represents on the total you're paying. You'll hear people present their property taxes like this. Municipal governments will say, well, it's only a 1% increase in your property tax, but people will say, but it's like 20% more on what I'm paying. And both are true. It's all in the spin, right? I don't know that you'd run into that much pushback, though. Like, what's an NDP opposition going to do if a conservative government moves to bump up corporate income tax, corporate taxes? Corporate taxes bump up. You think the NDP is going to criticize it? No, they're not. But the base will. The businesses will. And if you're talking about right now about trying to keep investment in Alberta, successive Alberta governments, like through many premiers, have pointed to Alberta's low corporate taxes as an attracting factor. So I don't know. There's obviously a lot that goes into it. More than anything, what it takes. Damn it all says maybe we should just manage our money properly and carry on. But I would say this, and it's going to take political will. It takes guts for a premier even to consider something like that, let alone publicly. Shout out to Meta Modern, $5 into the super chat, says they picked up a bottle of that Hanson Whiskey Rose yesterday. All right. For a holiday gift, says had a little taste of it too, and it was delicious. Meta Modern, can't tell you how much we appreciate that.
Well, hopefully it wasn't in the car on the way home. I know it's tough when you're looking at that bottle because like the label looks so nice, and you're like, especially that 7-year, but wait till you get home, okay?
Yeah, that's 3-year whiskey. Let's show that. We can show it at HansonDistillery.com. You can always visit the Hanson. And I mean, some of you was touring Zebra that sent in the photo the other day. They drove a couple hours into Edmonton, which was amazing.
Of course, they tour.
To visit the distillery. They stopped at Friesen Brothers along the way as well. Never
touring
a bad
around
plan.
like a Zebra does.
But you can find that. We're showing you HansonDistillery.com right now. You can go into the distillery, 174th Street, 111th Ave, just north of Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West, and pick up a bottle. It's a 3-year aged whiskey. The whole barrel, 200 bottles, was donated by Hanson. They also donated the bottling, the labels, everything. And that means that at $100 a bottle, with all proceeds going to the cause, it's going to raise $20,000 for the YWCA's Rose campaign, which is a campaign to end gender-based violence and violence against women and girls. So sure appreciate that from Meta Modern. And I also appreciate the feedback. Like when they say they bought a bottle for a Christmas gift, but then they had a little taste too. Are they giving the gift with a little dram out of it? I wonder. It's kind of I don't mind that. I don't mind your style on that one. Or maybe you picked up 2 bottles.
Or are they just being modest and a little taste meant they bought another bottle for
They might have bought
themselves.
they might have bought a couple of bottles. Or Metamodern. Oh, here. So they were offering tasters at the bar. Metamodern has clarified, says it was at the bar, just a little sniff. So there you go. Well, we're very proud of you. And it is an awesome whiskey. I'm never going to recommend a lousy whiskey to you. I'm never going to recommend lousy sourdough cinnamon buns or lousy vehicles or lousy custom menswear. We're not going to run lousy insurance providers or lousy solar providers or lousy custom closets. They already say them. We recommend all of our sponsors, of course, and we do business with all of our sponsors, including the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park. Their segment is coming up in mere moments. Something just made your face jump on the live chat. What was it?
Oh, nothing.
I'm just reading your body language.
No, it wasn't that.
Okay, something else. I noticed a lot of you, a lot of prudes kind of, I called you that, clutching your pearls in our live chat. I think it was Tommy that said, I don't want my boys hearing about blowjobs at school, talking about this. Guess what, buddy?
I hate to tell you this.
Your boys are hearing about blowjobs at school. I don't know how old your boys are. I'm going to be careful in what I say. I don't want it to come across as inappropriate or too personal, but I would say this. Generally speaking, guys, that whole idea, it's like the laughable nature of Nancy Reagan's just say no, dare to say no to drugs thing. Doesn't work, guys. Abstinence training, you can hammer it home with your kids, and I encourage you to do so. There's no birth control like abstinence, but what's probably smarter and better is having young people, if I can speak candidly and frankly for a second, that are waking up in the middle of the night with things like wet dreams, or waking up hard in the morning, or girls that are getting their periods, having them like understand what's happening, and so they don't wind up pregnant at 15 and then you got a bigger problem on your hands. I've never really understood the whole thing of like, don't talk about it. Erika, she's having some fun with this. There's no way that Erika actually believes that grade 6 kids are checking out books with like, age inappropriate content in it. The education minister, Dimitrios Nikolaitis, on this show could not cite a single example of a young person in Alberta that had signed out or accessed age-inappropriate library material. And, of course, he deflected it deftly. He's a sharp guy. And he said, well, of course, Ryan. I said, do you have any examples of any young people that have checked out age-inappropriate library material? He says, well, that would be inappropriate for the government to monitor the types of library books that people are checking out of schools, which is true. But it's also true, then, that it means that they have literally no proof that it's ever happened, and everything that you're hearing is anecdotal. You're always going to hear about that one guy like Cletus that like went into his kid's school library in Rimbey, Alberta, and like found a perverted book on the shelf that a grade 3 kid could have seen. It's never credible, and even if it did happen like once or twice, Johnny, how many kids of our vintage came across like Uncle Larry's Hustler mags in an IKEA box in the garage? Kids are going to come across stuff on TikTok and the World Wide Web and elsewhere, and I'd rather they know about it and they feel comfortable understanding it or asking about it, as opposed to this like 1940s, 1950s mentality of if we're not talking about it, it's not happening, right?
Well, the government even put out, a pamphlet showing the books that they were worried about. These are all, I would rather they be reading award-winning books than going on Pornhub and other things. But the other thing is, were we all not young at one time? And even I was, when I was growing up, it was the birth of the internet. And now it's insane. So, I mean, we were talking about, sex and what to do and being curious about it way before
100%.
We had access to what the kids have access today. So I wouldn't be worried about what your teachers are teaching kids or what the library has in it. I would be worried about, monitoring their screen time at home. But I would also just talk to them, get it out of there the sooner you can, and discuss it with them and have healthy sexual education and conversations with them. And the last thing I'll say is, that comment, I do agree it's kind of crazy to monitor people, but why is Mr. Bookman calling me for 30 cents on my overdue library book if we're not able to monitor? Like, who checks out a book and where it is, right?
Yeah, but the government, they would say, wouldn't have access to it. Yeah. Ken K says you're being very specific, Ryan. I mean, those are are you talking about the wet dreams and the boners? And like that? I mean, guys, we're not afraid to talk about it.
We talk about it, sex education.
It's what they tell you. Kenzie says, well, it's the issue is that they're in schools. They're like, where else should they be? I don't know. We're not talking about, it doesn't happen. The whole idea, like kindergarten kids are learning about glory holes. No, they're not. But I don't know. I mean, a lot of you, I think probably feel like, well, sex ed should happen in the home. And in some homes it does. And like in some homes it absolutely does not. Dubious says, I guarantee that not a single person has ever learned what a blowjob is from a graphic novel. Like not a single one ever. James says Cletus probably put that book in at the Rimbey Library. I'm just giving a shout out to Rimbey. I love Rimbey.
I would have killed for that graphic novel back when I was in grade 5 or 6, but I don't think the kids today, that's not what's getting them going. It's nothing compared to what's on the internet and everywhere.
Yeah. Jode says Catholic school sex ed meant a lot of girls I grew up with ended up in the city 3 hours away for Abortion Tuesday. Says it's sad but true. No education equals bad outcomes. I 100% agree. I absolutely agree. Some of you are talking about original album covers. You got your sex ed from album covers. Jane's Addiction, Nothing Shocking. Is that one that was? I remember the Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction had a fold out poster.
Oh, I remember. Yes,
it was the robot like sexy. It's quite a graphic.
Sexy.
My uncle Brent, who's like one of the greatest dudes ever, was in my room and saw that, and it wasn't up on the wall. If anything, I was trying to hide it, and he called me he was like, "What is that smut?" I don't. And he wasn't wrong.
I don't know. I plead the fifth. I remember. I'm having flashbacks now. Janet Jackson's album back in the day got me all riled up. But nowadays, I mean, just talk to your kids because if they're not accessing it at home, they're accessing it someone else. Yeah. Some kid they know has a phone who's younger than them. And even if you aren't giving your kid access to an iPad or phone, someone is, and they're all gathered around it and they're all learning, man.
Yeah. This one here from, okay. Amazing comments here just for 1 second. Sneezies says, I know that there's kids in bad homes and schools, to be honest with you. Don't worry me. Another one says sex ed in my small town in the 90s was like, you're going to get pregnant and catch every disease and die. Oh, and by the way, these are fallopian tubes. Damn It All says this show is like obsessed about porn. Jeez, Ryan, just go blow Johnny, okay?
Wow.
I would say I've never been like
not that there's anything wrong with
not that there's anything wrong with that. And who knows what our private holiday party
here we go.
I've never been like, sort of like threatened, had my sense of self threatened by someone suggesting that, maybe I should go blow you, Johnny. I don't know.
Would our listeners
are we really obsessed with porn?
We're going into a weird corner here, but would listeners really be that, disillusioned and upset if you heard that Ryan's in an open marriage and maybe him and I are dating on the side as well?
Oh, when Carrie hears this is just going to be such a fun conversation. The studio audience loves it. I don't think, not everybody, though. You heard from those.
See, it's Discourse.
Yeah, the Discourse fans in the back. The show's definitely not obsessed about porn, but the show is definitely pro-sex ed and pro young people at age-appropriate levels understanding, like, the real names for their private parts and understanding what consent looks like and understanding why adults who aren't your parents that ask you to keep secrets are not looking out for your best interests, and understanding trust and understanding disclosure and understanding how the body works. And I think, like, if you don't support that, then honestly, like, a lot of times this show has open minds. We seek to understand. But if you think that's a bad idea, honestly, I just think you're fucked in the head. And it doesn't matter to me because I think that we have seen so many bad outcomes from young people who didn't understand what was happening, right? They didn't understand. I was talking to somebody just yesterday who is a member. He probably doesn't want me talking about this. I won't provide any identifying details except for he was a member of a faith community in Edmonton whose leader is now facing very serious sexual assault charges. And there are people that have been manipulated as adults to get to the point where their own senses of self, their own bodies, they themselves are being victimized and targeted because they have not they've been brainwashed and because they've been manipulated and misled. And I just think that education around that kind of stuff has to start early. And I don't know how you can argue against that. I think it's absolutely insane to suggest that you think that teachers are out there trying to convince, trying to push porn on young kids. I mean, if you honestly believe that, you probably fit the description of people who believe other ridiculous things. And I'm not going to spend too much time entertaining it, but well, yeah. I mean, like all kinds of stuff.
No one's teaching. No one's like trying I don't even know what that
push
means,
porn on kids in classrooms. Like if you honestly believe that, I know some of you will say, "Well, I saw a pride flag." Like not the same thing, right? So anyway, I digress. I think the majority of the audience, 98% of this audience, is probably with me on this one, regardless of how you vote or what city you live in, or whether or not you believe that Tristan Jarry or Stuart Skinner would be the solution to the Edmonton Oilers Stanley Cup woe. I can't believe that story breaking during the well. I mean, it's wild. Tristan Jarry's coming back to Edmonton.
It was a rumor, though.
You like how we went from porn and sex ed to the NHL just like that?
I mean, you mentioned it. It was in the Real Talk rumor mill about Jarry.
Yeah.
So it's not a total blindside, but what I think is kind of sad is that it did seem like Stuart was playing for his life, and the team is on a bit of a run now, even though they had a loss the other night, but that's still a point. It just seems a little, but hey, You know what they always say, Ryan, and you'll agree with this, is if you're going to fire someone, fire them on a Friday.
Fire them on a Friday. There you go. Alberta
People
Rancher.
forget before the weekend's over.
Alberta Rancher wonders, what does sex and apple pie have in common? In my house, I don't get either. That from
Jesus. What?
Amazing. Erika says, me and a whole bunch of the neighborhood kids found a whole stack of dirty magazines in a back alley when we were like 11 or 12 years old. Says, I unfortunately learned more in 10 minutes than I wanted to. And you know, Erika would probably also say, if she was going to make her comment longer, that like the last thing, and probably particularly women, although I would just say for everybody because it impacts men as well and young boys, you don't want young people, you don't want impressionable young people learning about intimacy and sex from porn. It's like the worst way to learn about intimacy and sex and connection in your own body. Do we all agree? I'm not a sex educator, but I'm pretty certain that the messages and kind of the stereotypes and the general premises that porn perpetuates are not healthy, right? Can we all agree on that? I'm not cracking on those of you that use porn in your relationships or whatever. We have promised a porn roundtable for a long time on actually really talking to experts about the psychology of it and the addictive nature of it. And right?
It's painted as like 100% vile, but like
it's not always.
Porn has come like, and they've been forced to in many ways, has come a long way. Like if you go to most porn sites now, not that I'm, this is gonna sound,
Johnny, give us the comprehensive view of all the porn sites.
I'm not going to name them because obviously, like whatever. But if you go to say the number one porn site, and I think everyone knows, there you go.
Based out of Alberta, by the way.
There are tutorials on there now. There's also like safe, healthy sexual videos. There's also like help areas where you can get help with online sex therapists and ask questions. So they clearly know that like young people are accessing this. People who may not be sexually educated are accessing this. People with mental health issues, like we know that porn addiction is a thing. So there's all these windows you can click on now that offer those things. So, I mean, I'm not saying porn's a great thing. It's obviously got a lot of downfalls, but it has been forced to review its ways, and it's trying its best.
Yeah, for sure. Tracy says our office is buzzing with Oiler trade news. Very interesting. Is there any other talk show in Canada that's bouncing back and forth between talking about NHL hockey trades and Pornhub? I don't think so. T6 says nobody's been teaching porn. Ms. KD makes a great point. Thanks for your YouTube channel membership. Ms. KD says we can talk about sex and laugh it off, but a lot of the same people who don't want sex ed in schools are not teaching no means no. These are people who think that women are chattel and can be used for sex at will. You could probably develop that thought further. Tommy says, don't get addicted to porn. I 100% agree. It'll destroy relationships for a lot of people. Porn is nuanced, and I do think we should do a roundtable on it. We got to get the right people. We got to get Ron Jeremy on it. Would be.
There's a lot of levels, there's a lot of genres. There's a lot of tastes. But if you're going to use porn, try to use Canadian.
RS says OnlyFans has changed the porn industry. I absolutely 100% agree. OnlyFans has changed a lot of things. Super Chat Ken, let me get this one out of the way. Super Chat Ken says, if you're worried about porn for your kids, you better make sure they don't have Reddit on their phone, says they see everything there. What were you going to say?
Again, people vilify OnlyFans, but like I was like, I don't see why more people don't love it. You're getting people out of poverty. You're getting people who
OnlyFans?
Yeah, you're getting people who maybe not have access to a job. Maybe they're not educated, can make a little money. People are getting absolutely rich off it. Number two, kids aren't going to pay monthly for porn. Like it's pretty gate kept in that regard. It's safe. It's adults. You have to sign up. You have to give a credit card. Like I just feel like there's a lot more safety boundaries involved with that than clicking on a website. I don't know why.
And I mean, again, you and I have two similar guys, similar demographic, and there's a lot of different perspectives and angles that should be covered in a conversation about this. So we're going to have our own thoughts, but obviously there are many thoughts, and this is nuanced subject matter. I would say for a lot of people, they would feel like OnlyFans. Here's the two sides of the coin for me. Mm-hmm. On one hand, people will say, well, it's exploitation. Like straight up, it is exploitation of people that feel like they don't have other options, and so they're essentially like selling access to their bodies in some way, shape, or form. norm. And on the other hand, you'll have people that can argue that it's empowering and that
100%.
people are choosing to do it. But, they've made the same conversation. We've had conversations on this show and other talk shows I've hosted about the sex trade in Canada, and I think of Andrea Heinz, who was on the show recently, former brothel owner and former sex worker who has now written a book. What's the title of the book?
It at my house.
It's called something like
Why Men Pay for Sex.
When men pay for sex, or when men buy sex, who pays?
Yes.
And Andrea's doing remarkable work trying to stop human trafficking. It's happening in Canada. It's happening in your home city, regardless of where you live. It's a fact. And a lot of this does tie back to the sex trade. And so I want to have a meaningful conversation with a lot of viewpoints considered. I think for someone that is, they're confident and comfortable being on OnlyFans, and they're making there's people that are making $1 million a month on OnlyFans.
And I get what you're saying. People are forced to take jobs they don't like in real life. 80% of the time, I would say. Who out there really loves their job? It's hard. It's hard to find a job that you absolutely love and adore and want to get up every day and go to work. I think. I don't want to say the majority, but a lot of people get up every day and it's they would rather not go to work, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of exploitation, I think porn and webcams and all that stuff is way worse than OnlyFans.
Steph M says, you guys changed the subject. I don't even know what the subject is right now. There's a little bit of Tristan Jari trade talk. We're talking a little bit of porn. We're still talking to PST. Kazman signed into our live chat and says PST political suicide tax. And I've seen that before too. And you might be right. I love this from Cherie, who says when Cherie was in grade 1, says a group of us paid a friend's older brother in grade 8 25 cents to explain sex to us.
Okay, I thought you were going to say something else.
No, Johnny.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. We're out. It turns out this will be our final episode before. No, it won't be. It won't be. This is, hilarious. Okay, so we've had. We're obviously covering. Ken K says he knew a guy years ago. This sounds like an old wives' tale, Ken. Is this the truth? Says he knew a guy years ago who went into a strip club with his buddies and the guy's daughter came out on stage. I don't know. Oh, maybe that is true. Ken K, Super Chat Ken says OnlyFans returned. Hang on. What? No, wait. What?
Yeah, that's.
No, that doesn't. What? What am I missing? OnlyFans returned $37.6 million in revenue per employee in 2024, more than Apple or Nvidia by far. Kenzie, and I agree with you on this, Kenzie, says exposing children to unhealthy sexuality is not positive education. 100% agree. But what are we describing as unhealthy sexuality? I saw somebody earlier in the chat point out, they said that the UCP, when you're talking about these school library book bans, they said, keep in mind, every book had a same-sex theme to it, or an LGBTQ2S plus theme to it. So it's actually not about porn.
I think what that person was saying about the OnlyFans was that the employee per employee makes more, which I can believe. But there's no way OnlyFans makes more than Apple.
Okay, so
OnlyFans
what they're
makes
saying is
$2 billion a year. Apple's over $400 billion.
That OnlyFans, I must have misunderstood.
Yes.
So they're saying OnlyFans has obviously a smaller base of employees.
Sure, and per those people, they make more than people at Apple.
I see. Okay,
because
interesting.
I'm like, Apple makes $400 billion a year. OnlyFans is like a $2 billion operation.
Yeah. Is this true, Kenzie? Disclosing in our chat, she's a child protection officer. Interesting. If that is true, I will apply that knowledge to your further comments. We always like knowing where people are coming from, and when you share that with us. Boy, this episode has taken some interesting turns, hasn't it, guys? That's why we call it Real Talk, and it's why this is the best damn talk audience in the country. We sure appreciate those of you that joined us in the live chat, and a bunch of you that are sending us emails after the fact as well. The majority of you, literally, guys, by the numbers, between depending on the week, 90 to 95% of you are catching the show after, and we want to know what you think as well. You can leave comments on our YouTube episodes, or you can send us an email anytime. That's what these are, guys, as we wrap up every week here on this show. Our friends at the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park roll out the red carpet for your hottest takes. That's right, this is the Flamethrower, presented by the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park. How about this one from Pedro, who is listening to our interview with Danielle Smith on the 9th of December, says, RJ, I heard it, unmistakable, out of the Premier's mouth. Baffle Gab. That from Pedro. I like that. How about this one from Margaret, who says, Ryan, I found it really interesting that Premier Danielle Smith said that it was Thomas Lukaszuk who made this referendum issue a thing because his petition said, do you think that Alberta should remain in Canada or not? So he opened the door. That is absolutely false, says Margaret. His question was, do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada? Nice try, says Margaret, but that is a twist of the facts, Premier, just to take the heat off you. And Margaret's not sold on it. What about this one from Alison? It says, after listening to the Premier respond to the question I submitted this week, Alison had a great question to talk@ryanjesperson.com. She said, what's the whole deal with parental rights, but then stepping in on puberty blockers? That's a family decision, right? I'm paraphrasing Alison's question. She says, I had to respond in writing in an effort to preserve my sanity. Alison says, first of all, thank you for reading my question. You did an admirable job trying to keep her focused on the topic, but of course, being the indelible queen of spin that she is, she took my question that asked her to square her position on preserving parental rights while overriding others and responded with the profoundly insulting statement of, we don't do medical experiments on children, going on to explain what appears to be her real concern of kids who start taking puberty blockers will often go on to have gender reassignment surgery as adults. Hasn't the entire premise for the decision all along been to leave the permanent decision of gender reassignment to the individual once they reach adulthood? And if a youth who pauses their puberty ends up having surgery in adulthood, doesn't that mean that they knew who they were and they were on the right track all along? The entire point of puberty blockers, which medical experts in Canada have asserted are reversible, is to pause someone from developing too far into the gender they don't associate with before it causes emotional harm. Talk to someone who's experiencing the trauma of gender dysphoria. Why would any of us want to force someone through that? I would go on to assume that the gender reassignment process would be far more difficult if the person's already been forced to go through puberty. I thought Health Canada was who we rely on to tell us what's safe and what's not. Let's all remember, the last time the Premier did her own research, didn't we end up with children's fever medication that clogged ICU infant feeding tubes and had to be dosed at such large amounts that nobody would administer it? I mean, there's a reason that these decisions should be made by medical professionals, not politicians. The Premier's been successful because she can make something entirely illogical sound totally reasonable. It's her superpower, and it's driving me insane. Alison says, for those who agree with Danielle Smith, please for 1 second imagine she was talking about another type of medical intervention, like birth control. If a 15-year-old is sexually active and her parents support her taking birth control to prevent an unplanned pregnancy, does the province have the right to tell doctors they can't prescribe it? What about a scenario where a provincial government says you can't take other medications because they read a debunked study somewhere that it could cause harm, like childhood vaccinations or Tylenol, for example? Does any large nation just south of us maybe come to mind, guys? Elected officials should never be allowed to make ideological-based decisions for society about personal health decisions. They must be guided by unmanipulated medical evidence. And for anybody who still can't see this decision, which has trampled all over the rights of a small number of Albertans, won't affect you or someone you love one day, you are kidding yourself, says Alison. On December 9th, every single UCP member present in the legislature voted to overwrite the rights of Albertans again. She's talking about the notwithstanding clause. I'm gutted because of the harm this will cause to those who deserve our compassion and our understanding, not our judgment and misinformation-strewn soapboxes. I feel helpless as I watch it unfold. However, I will take the most enormous pride when Election Day comes and I get the opportunity to vote this uncompassionate, cruel group of lemmings out of office. And I hope that those who truly care about the rights and freedoms of all Albertans will do the same thing. Alison said, thank you for letting me vent. I absolutely love your show. That from Alison. And Les brings us home. He says, good week, great shows. What is going on right now? This government more concerned about banning books and political words? Can somebody please explain to me how the word shredder or shedder helps anyone but covering Smith's ass? This stuff isn't helping with auto insurance, healthcare, public schools, and the list is long. What's up with banning names? Is this government so scared or ashamed of their record they have to ban the entire political dictionary? It says this is not a government for anybody but the top 2% of corporations. I challenge anybody to tell us one thing that this government's done to improve the quality of life for the majority of Albertans. Les says, I suggest the Alberta Party change its name to the People's Party of Alberta, and let's start putting Albertans and those visiting Alberta first. We must stop this division of society disguised by political hate and anger, all in the thirst for greed and power. Albertans deserve better, and now we must show it in action. Les says, Merry Christmas, Jespo, Johnny, support staff, and all my friends in the chat, and socks of coal for the trolls. Coal for the trolls, Johnny. There you go. You can fire up your flamethrower to talk at RyanJesperson.com. And when you visit the DQs in Palisades, Nemeo, Newcastle, Westmount, and Baseline Road, you make sure you let them know that Real Talk sent you.
Here?
Who is running the camera switcher right now? Old fashions being poured behind the... No, it's not true, everybody. We love you guys. We're back at it on Monday with more from Supriya Dwivedi. We have a big week in store. Our final episode, mark your calendars, the 22nd of December. Unless you're a Patreon supporter or a YouTube channel subscriber at any level of membership, the 23rd of December, our annual Real Talk Holiday VIP Zoom party. We hope you'll join us for giveaways, a Q&A, and more fun and frivolity. That's right. Make it a great weekend, everybody. Chat soon.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson, executive producer Josh Dunford, technical producer John Hicks, general manager Katie Cook-Chivers, account coordinator Lawrence Derlego, human resources Lena Shepard, website design Mike Johnston, voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton. Real Talk's editorial board is Supriya Dwivedi, Ahmed Ali, Brandy Morin, Ann Castleman, Corey Hogan, Harmon Candola, Catherine O'Neill, and Chris Henderson. Member Emerita, Julie Rohr. Real Talk is recorded in Edmonton, Alberta on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux, home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta. Real Talk is a relay project. For more, check out RyanJesperson.com.